Today is a huge day because the new heart of the flooded Corvair is about to start going back together. Hey everybody, welcome back to Auto Anatomy. My name is Sean. Thank you so much for being here. I'm kind of torn about today because I really didn't want to be here. I didn't think that over this winter I was going to be building another new engine for the flooded Corvair. But as you saw in the last video, and I'll put a link up here to that video about the autopsy of the flooded Corvair engine, you saw exactly how much damage was done by just a bunch of trash going through the engine. But we're over it. We're past that. We're getting on to today's build. So right under that blanket right there is the new beating heart of that car. And I'll admit it, I'm excited to see this thing go back together. So as you saw as a teaser on the very end of the last video, we picked up another block and we're gonna go ahead and go through all of it, do all of the modifications that we did on the first engine, plus a few more. So I think you're gonna be really excited to see that. Our channel members have already seen a lot of what's happening on the flooded Corvair engine build, and for as little as 99 cents a month, you too can get exclusive behind the scenes information, photos, things that never get released, plus early access to the videos, and it helps support our channel and lets us keep doing that. So if you're interested, we have memberships for as little as 99 cents a month. Plus, if you like seeing classic cars get brought back to life, take just a second and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. It's a free way to help support our channel. It means more than I can tell you. All right, let's go ahead and show you the modifications that we're going to do to the block above and beyond what we've done previously. So on the previous engine build, and this is the old block here, you can see we went ahead and deburred the entire thing. We spent a long time with a sanding rule, knocking down all of the high spots, getting rid of additional flashing, things like that. Plus, based on the book by Seth Emerson, we widened out these oil passages on the main bearings to make sure that it got a little bit more oil flow. Plus, we went ahead and enlarged these holes, the drain back holes, and chamfered the edges just a little bit to try and improve oil drain back to the block. But on the new engine, we're going to take that a step further. On the cam end of the block, right here is a hole that allows oil to drain into the cam passage. So this is where your cam would be, and this is where your crank would be. But once oil gets into here, there's no way really for it to drain out. So what we're going to do is, one of the modifications is drill about a 1/4 inch hole right here above this oil pan rail to let any additional oil that's accumulated in this passage drain back to the oil pan. Is it going to help with power? Maybe a tiny bit, but what it's going to ensure is that when we change the oil, that actually all of the oil comes out of the engine. And the next modification that we're going to do is also involving oil drain back. Now, you may have heard of a product called Gliptol. Now, Gliptol has been used, I think, for like 100 years. And if memory serves me correct, it was originally designed for like motor armatures to coat the windings. And this thing is a hard enamel. It's oil resistant, it's temperature resistant, and when it's dried on the block, will create an absolutely slick, smooth surface to let oil drain back to the pan. I've been using this stuff for 30 years building engines. Never seen it come off in an oil pan. This stuff is hard as a rock, and it's just one tiny little thing that we can do to help make this Corvair engine last a little bit longer. So we're going to coat the inside of the block, everything that we previously deburred, with Gliptol to make sure that all of that oil that's in the crankcase runs back to the oil pan as quickly as possible. So the first thing to do is let's take our new block, make all of those modifications that we had previously done in the first engine build, and then we'll start working on the new modifications, the drain backs to the cam area, and then painting the inside with Gliptol. And after all of this work, it is my honor to present the new block. This represents weeks worth of work. So what we've done, just to reiterate, we widened all the passages in the for the main bearings to ensure they get more oil flow. The entire block has been deburred, coated with Gliptol on all of the inside oil passages, both in the cam area, the main crankcase, and in the oil pan area, and little drain areas on the fronts. The cam journals are polished. We've made sure that all of the bearing holes are aligned on the main bearings, because on some of them, the hole in the bearing is not lining up with the slot, and it may be like halfway covered up. So that's all done. Went through with a fine file, making sure that the entire block mating surface is completely free of burrs so that it sits flat. Gosh, there's something else I'm sure, but took a fine bit, ran through all of the oil passages, making sure they run all the way through clean into the oil galley, the main oil galley. Shorten the dipstick so that it doesn't protrude through into the bottom, so under hard corners, you don't get oil sloshing up the dipstick tube. And there's probably some more stuff that I've forgotten, but I think this is the best Corvair engine that I've built, number 2, and I'm really excited to see it go back together. So let me grab all the parts and we'll start assembly. So I think we're finally ready for assembly. Now the block has been scrubbed over and over again. I've pulled out the little pipe plug at the end of the block, run it through with brushes, cleaned it, scrubbed it, but we're gonna run one more time and just wipe down everything, all the mating surfaces with some brake parts cleaner, and then we'll start installing the bearings in the crank. Now for the bearings, historically, I have always loved Clevite 77 bearings. I think they make a great product, but they are basically unobtainium nowadays for Corvairs. So several of the racers had recommended the Clark's bearings. I have no experience with them, but we're gonna try these out on the engine. And speaking of the crank, I mentioned in the previous video that we are not going back together with the factory crank. And that's because I picked up a 140 nitrided crank from Bob Coffin. And this crank is not stock. It has been, the journals have been polished, and all of the oil holes in it have been fish mouthed to improve oil flow. So this thing is clean, ready to install. Is it necessary? Probably not, but is it a foundation that I can trust is never gonna have an issue? Absolutely. So let me wipe down all the bearing surfaces here, get everything clean again, and then we'll start throwing in some bearings, some assembly lube, and set the crank and the cam in place. So the short block's all assembled, and unfortunately my rod bearings didn't show up on time. They're supposed to be here today, so what I think I'm probably gonna do is just bag up the short block, put it on a stand, get it out of the garage for the moment, and get started on some rust repair, because I wanna make sure that the engine bay is really nice and pretty when we put the engine back together. So I've got a little bit of rust in the rail around the engine compartment where the gasket rides. And thankfully, I was able to go over to a friend's house and cut up one of his cars. So thank you, Barry, and get some good quality metal so that I can put it back in the car. So while waiting on some bearings, let's continue on to some rust repair. And this will almost be the end of all of the rust work in the flooded Corvair. So I have to say, I'm kind of addicted to vapor honing. I dropped these off at Finished Technologies here in Greenville, South Carolina, and got vapor honed, and these look honestly better than brand new. I am ecstatic with how this turned out. I'll drop a link to Finished Technologies in the description. So if you're in the Greenville area and are looking for someone, I think they do powder coating as well as vapor honing, all kinds of stuff. Bell housing looks phenomenal. So I think it's time to drop in a new rear main seal. Now, on the last video, I mentioned that I am not going to be using a Viton seal because it just leaked like crazy. And thankfully, Rick Norris sent me a care package with a few things, and one of which was a brand new USA-made national rubber rear main seal. So we'll get this installed and we can get this on the engine. The rod bearings have finally arrived and it's time to get on to building the rest of the engine. I will say, in interest of full disclosure, I had to take everything back apart again because in my haste, I forgot to put some sealant on the corners of the block where the halves meet. So took everything back apart again, torqued it all, we're back together, we're good. The next step is going to be putting the front cover on. And I just want to say thank you again to Billy from Chair City Corvairs because he has provided so much information and insight on little things that he's learned over the years. And one thing he recommended was to drive this pin out, which is the pivot for part of the oil pump. Because he says he has seen a lot of these where they have gotten hot and this pin will get loose and oil will seep past right there, that little gap. And he recommended taking some Loctite 620, heating this up, driving the pin out, putting some Loctite 620, and then pushing the pin back in and just prevent one more leak on the thing. So we are definitely going to take his advice on this. So it looks like basically this is a 1,000th shim, and it can't, I mean, it can go through on part of it, but it's just barely. So effectively, I think this thing is supposed to be flush. So we'll just heat this up with a torch, drive this pin out, glue it back in, and move on with the assembly. So after a lot of thought and conversation with a bunch of people, I think I've made an executive decision, and I think the decision is I'm going to put new bypasses back in it. So a lot of discussion about it, a lot of controversy. I definitely want to keep the one for the oil cooler here. I think that's really important for a street car. The question was whether to do it for the oil filter. And at the end of the day, you know, it's easy enough to change if I want to. It's just this top piece here. And I thought, you know, I could always, you know, tap this hole, put a plug in it, and then that would suffice to be the bypass. But I think for now, I'm going to put new plugs or new bypasses in both of them. And thankfully, again, Rick Norris for the win. He sent me two brand new, heavier duty, like upgraded style bypasses. And I can already tell that the spring is way stronger than what was in the original bypass. And the style is such that that little disc that's in there can't cock and get caught open. So I'm going to drive these in, and then we're just going to keep moving on. All right, next up is putting the oil pump in, and we're going to measure clearance here. Went ahead and machined this down to completely flat, so nice, good, clean surface. And I'm just going to actually put the cover on first, get it torqued into place, and then measure the gap between the cover and the body, and we're looking for 2 to 5 thousandths clearance. 0.04 is loose, 0.06 is tight. We'll add a thou to the 0.04, and it's right at 0.05 right now. So we need 0.05 plus 2 to 0.05. So let me measure some gaskets here, and we'll figure out the right combination of shims. So with 5 thousandths plus, this is 8 thousandths. So that'll give us 3 thousandths clearance between the cover and the oil pump. May have to do something a little different with this one because it's sticking up right in the way of the PCV tube. I probably could have cleaned out the lifters that came out of the old motor. I mean, they didn't really have but 15,000 or so miles on it, but lifters are cheap, so we're just going to throw a new set in. There's still a little bit of work that needs to be done on it. I don't have a flywheel clutch or anything like that in it yet, but don't need that quite this moment. And then I still have to put a new harmonic balancer on the engine, which I'm going to pick up from Bob Coffin. But all in all, I am really happy with the way this turned out. I think the vapor blasting looks phenomenal. So again, if you're in the Greenville area, reach out to Finish Technologies and I'll drop a link below. I've got part of the rust repair done on the engine compartment. This rail is done. There's a lot of rust in this rail and I've got the metal for it, but it's going to be a little trickier because the way the body is formed, this is part of the larger body, and then this piece is part of the top here. So you may see me standing on my head a little bit to weld, but I think I've got a plan to make that look pretty factory. But that's going to have to wait until the next video. Speaking of next video, let me show you what we're going to be taking on. We have picked up another transmission and differential assembly, a little bit steeper gear. This is a 355 compared to the 320 something that we had. It's not a posi, but it's going to get brand new going through the entire thing, show you how to rebuild the differential and the transmission. But that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to take this time to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, a very Happy Hanukkah or Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever holiday you celebrate this time of the year, make sure to do it with family, and I hope it's a peaceful one. And I want to say one last thank you to all of you. You are the lifeblood of this channel. You're the reason that we're able to keep doing this. So whether it's our channel members helping support us financially, or just all of our subscribers and the people that like and comment on these videos, you are the reason that we're able to keep making Corvair content here on YouTube. Take care of yourselves. God bless. We'll see you very soon.